Have a great day, and remember, PTLA.
The opinions heard on this program, based on the many years of experience of Russ and Shannon, are offered for entertainment value only and as a guide to your repair needs. No claim to repair or cause is given or implied. Always consult with your own certified technician and follow all safety procedures before attempting any repair. To be a part of the show, call 866-594-4150. Under the Hood is produced by Prairie House Productions. All content is the property of Nordstrom's Automotive Incorporated and may not be used without our permission. Copyright Nordstrom's Automotive, Inc. Now, let's go under the hood with the Nordstrom's Motor Medics.
Welcome to the Under the Hood Show. We are glad to have you with us. Russ Evans is here to answer your automotive questions.
Thanks for joining us under the hood.
Shannon Nordstrom is here to do the same.
Welcome, hoodies. Thanks for tuning in so we can help you tune up.
I'm Chris Carter here to answer your calls at 866-594-4150. 866-594-4150. We got a lot of stuff to talk about today, but we've got calls coming in from all over the country.
Yeah.
So we'll start there, and we'll see if we get back to some of these things, because there's some things that are possibly...
Current events, fun stuff, lots of stuff.
Fun stuff. Yeah.
No, I found some fun stuff, too.
Okay, good.
Like, totally not crazy news stuff, fun stuff. So let's go.
866-594-4150. Let's talk to Steve in Nebraska. Steve, you're on the Under the Hood Show. What can we do for you?
Well, I have a really unusual problem. My battery in my car keeps dying, and it's a 2015 Lincoln MKZ. It's got a 2.3, and no, an MKC. It's my wife's car, and it just whenever it gets cold, and I've got it in a garage that's fully insulated, so the temperature never gets below freezing inside the garage, and if I go like over a week without driving the car, if it's not driven much, because it's only got 25,000 miles on it, that it just, you'll go out and open the door and lights won't go on, anything. I've been into the dealer lots of times. They've been great about it because they haven't even charged me for it. They even towed it once into the place, but I mean, it just drives me crazy. After it sits for a week, it's got no battery.
That would be enough to drive you crazy. You want your car to go when it's supposed to go.
And you'd think about it on Tuesday, and you'd be like, well, I'll do it Wednesday. Then it would be Thursday, and your battery would be dead. And you would know that you should have done it on Tuesday.
And when it's your significant other's car,
it's worse. Yes.
What's crazy,
to
me, the craziest thing about this whole call is that you weren't charged to look at it, even though they found nothing wrong. That's one of them out there that still does it.
I keep wondering if there's something wrong inside, like if there's some battery drain, but they've checked it and say, nope, it's working perfectly. I'm on my third battery. None of them have died other than because all of a sudden it didn't work. It would charge back up fine if I got a charger on it. And, it feel like I have to go out and charge it at least once a week if if it's cold outside.
Yeah.
The temperature can be way below zero, but I've got the garage still. I think the coldest I've ever seen, and it's about 31. And so that shouldn't. I've got a top of the line AGM battery in it.
Well, there's a good start for sure.
I know how I would handle this.
You'd put in a quick connect on the battery for a tender.
Exactly.
So you could just plug in through the grill and go.
Exactly, I would. Yes.
Well, that'll guarantee you'll keep that thing charged.
But that doesn't solve the problem.
No,
right?
It doesn't solve the problem. But I want to know, does this car have any aftermarket accessories put in, like a dash cam in it or anything like that? Nothing.
Car starter been added in or anything?
Because dash cams, for those who don't know, a lot of them have a built-in heater circuit which keeps the lens clear in cold weather, and the battery will run dead. Mine pulls a lot more amperage when it's cold, and after about 3 weeks of sitting on my diesel, it will start to go dead. It was not enough to crank it. It'll just, and it's because the camera's on. I unplug it, it's fine. The car takes about 2 weeks. In warm weather, I don't have that problem if it sits. There are other circuits in a car that can die when it's cold. And the only way you're going to find these, they're going to be so intermittent. There's no way you're ever going to find them when they take it into the dealer or any shop to have it looked at, because it happens when it's cold and when it feels like it. You need...
Do you mean cold temperature or cold the vehicle?
Outside temperature, cold. And they'll do it warm too, but cold, some things are worse. So what you need to do as a shop, the shop needs to put on a data logging meter that is going to register amps. The car is going to sit, and then when it gets to a point, they preset it. You use an app on your phone. This is a crazy thing because most shops aren't going to have them. You set the app, and let's say the car is pulling a steady 130 milliamps. You say, okay, that's great. You know that the car battery is going to go dead if we're drawing, let's say, over 250 for that short period of time. So we're going to set it at, I'm going to start with about 250. And if there's a spike that hits 250 or above, and it's sustained for more than 20 seconds or so, it's going to send me a message to my app on my phone and say, your car is like a water sensor in your house. I've detected a leak. Send a message to the phone. That's what it's going to do, because the tech isn't going to stand there and watch that recorder the whole time. That's going to cost you a lot of money. Mm-hmm. So that's what you do. And then while it's doing it, now they've got to rush to it and start checking, which you can imagine that whole setup there takes a lot of time and a lot of money. So they're probably just going to wait until the car's doing it all the time and it's really bad and it's constantly drawing, which it might occur or it might not with today's electronics. We got a lot of customers with cars that they just don't want to fix because it's would be very expensive. After you look at it, once, and if you can't find it, you just let it go. Use a battery maintainer on it. Keep it charged that way during those winter months. If you know it's going to sit more than 4 or 5 days, you plug it in, and it costs pennies a year to keep that thing charged, and you leave it. And then
it's just such a nuisance to keep.
It is
plugging it in and not plugging in. It's not electric.
No, it is. But you can. I mean, I'm not trying to encourage this, but if you don't have the bandwidth to get it fixed, by some method like this, that's what you can do. Is they make a lot of them that have a pigtail that'll bolt right to the battery, and then you can poke it out through the grill or somewhere, so you can just do it quick. That way. But it could be as crazy as a door latch that's got a hair trigger on it.
Get some water in it, moisture when it's cold.
And then all of a sudden it'll just energize because the latch clicks, and then it turns modules on, and it's doing that off
Not
and
even
on.
Turning the lights on in the car, just activating the modules. It just takes a millisecond to click, and then all of a sudden all the car wakes up, and there it goes.
Have you ever snuck up on it at night?
To see what's going on?
See if there's anything happening?
Oh, wait, here's another thing. So in my garage, and then inside of my house, I have a shelf. In my garage, there's a car. They're close enough that remote, which is a push-button start, kind of like this, it activates the car at random.
Oh, I gotcha.
So sometimes, like, the remote's in the house on the shelf, the car's in the garage, and it's locked. And I walk out into the garage, and I'm doing something on the workbench, and I hear the car go, bzzz, click, 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 click. I'm like, what's going on? And it's activated.
I have heard that.
There you go. Well,
okay.
Take
like
your
a proximity fob?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So if you've heard the car make some noise when it's off, make sure you have both the remotes for the car, or all the remotes. If you have 10, get them all. Put them on the opposite end of the house. Make sure they're like a good 30 feet from the car. Mine, if they're 10 feet from the car, I'm fine. But where this one wall is in this shelf, it's about 8 feet away, and it's just close enough that it lets the car activate, because the signal, if it was next to it all the time, it would probably shut off. But since it's right on the edge, it starts, it stops, it starts, it stops. So it's got to be far away. So that will drain your battery 100% for sure.
Interesting.
You got to keep it far enough away. Sometimes if you leave it in the car and the car's off and the doors are closed, it's smart enough to go, hey, nobody's in this car. Right. No pressure on the seats. The doors are closed.
I always take mine out just to be safe. I take it away.
But keep them far away. I know, like, your dad has a rack of keys with his cars, and they're far enough away where they're not going to activate the cars. Except
most of the cars.
Most of the cars, and the one doesn't seem to come.
Did you call that a data logging meter?
Yeah. Yeah. So they have voltmeters and amp meters, and they record. They record voltages over a period of time, and you'll see them used on houses for HVAC technicians all the time. They'll plug into the unit and let it run, and they can see, is the compressor drawing more amps than it should, or is the voltage spiking or dropping, and they need to look over like a 48-hour period because only does it sometimes, and they can just look at the meter and say, flat line, flat line, flat line. Whoa, look, it jumped up, back down to flat again. Why did it jump up and for how long? These things have been around for 30 years, but the app part of them have only been around for about 10 years.
That, I didn't even, there's been times I've gone to the garage to get some meat or something out of the fridge, and I've had the fob.
I was wondering what you were going to say.
A Slim Jim.
I've had the fob in my pocket, and my car powers up and says hello.
Your car does like R2-D2.
Yeah,
it's
it
like,
sure does. Yeah, it does a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, that's turning your car on.
Steve, good. That's
Something
a
to think
good one
about.
to look at. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you. The phone number to reach us, 866-594-4150. You're listening to the Under the Hood Show.
Find out how you can participate in the show by visiting underthehoodshow.com.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Let's go to Michigan and talk to Jeb. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Jeb, what can we do for you?
How you guys doing? Love the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I've got a 2006 GMC Sierra 2500 HD, and I had two questions about it if I could take up a little bit of your time here.
We'll see.
Issue.
That's Chris's decision.
We'll see, yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead with the first one.
The first issue is about a week ago, my oil pressure gauge pegged to 80 psi. I immediately went and got the oil changed. Everything was fine. Could that just be oil pressure sending unit or a sensor of some kind?
What engine's in this HD? Diesel or gas?
It's a 6-liter.
It's 6-liter gas. Okay. Okay, old enough, 6-liter. Good. Probably just the sending unit on the engine. And when it's time to change it, and it will be at some point, multiple times over the life, it collects sludge, gunk through the oil system. The tube that feeds it runs from down on the driver's side of the engine by the oil pump, where the oil filter is, up to right through the block. There's like a big old snake hole drilled right through the block to the sending unit, and it fills up with crud because it's not flowing. It's just fills it up with oil, and it's pressurized, and then it just sits there. So when you take the sensor out, behind the manifold, and then you take the oil filter off, and then you flush this thing out with cleaner. We use Berryman B12 Chem Tool for that. It's more than just for carburetors and air filter cleaners. And
You're going right up the gut with this.
It's for cleaning that. So you're gonna wash that out, and put some goggles on because that stuff will splash everywhere because of the way it's set up. It's going to go everywhere. So put some glasses on.
Even with the control flow technology straw?
Even that way, because you're going to have to turn it to full blast. You want to wash it out.
Okay.
And
so
I'm
you're really
telling you by
trying
experience. I've had this in my eyes more times with regular glasses on.
You're hydrating the port.
Yeah. So clean it out good. Then they sell a little screen that you can get with a filter. You put the screen in the hole first, and then you screw this is on top where the sensor goes. Screen goes in, little white plastic screen, and then the sensor goes in, and then you put the oil filter back on, change your oil, and you're good to go. You're back to brand new again, and you shouldn't have this problem for a while. Now, if you just pull it out like a lot of people do and put another sensor in there, the sensor might go bad in a day or a month or a year, and you go, I just replaced this. We had a customer that said, I put this one in every year and a half. Regularly. Boom, boom, boom. It's like, did you ever wash it out? And they were, what am I washing out?
What are you thinking right now, Chris?
I'm thinking it's a little white plastic screen,
Mm-hmm.
and 2 inches away, there's a piece of titanium that's been engineered for the last 140 years to survive 8,000 degrees Celsius.
It's not titanium.
And right next to it is this little plastic screen, and it works.
Like something that would come out of a garden hose.
I can't
The
imagine
screen
that.
keeps the dirt. I mean, all it takes is one little speck
But
on there, and
2 inches away, it's 1,000,000 degrees, and you can't look at it without getting burnt. I just think that's amazing sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
overstating.
That's most likely culprit there.
Yeah. So that's first. So question number 2.
I'll allow it.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Well, this is a problem that I already fixed, but I was just curious if maybe you guys could tell me how it happened. My rear brake rotors warped on me, and I've never had rear brake rotors warp. I mean, like every time that I would go and hit the brake, it would shake the truck like crazy. And, new pads and new rotors, and it took care of it right away. But I just have no idea how the heck it would even happen.
Well, it can happen.
This is one of those situations, yeah, where it's something that rarely does, and when it does, it happens instantly, and there's nothing you could have done about it, maybe.
No,
right, absolutely.
And it could be just one side, but if you replace both of them and it worked, of course, we're replacing both without actually measuring them. You wouldn't know 100%, but we've seen just one side warp when we check it. If it repeat failures, now we got a problem. We definitely had something that needed to be fixed, and that could be sticking calipers in the rear, sticking caliper slides in the rear, or rotors that had been previously turned, because most of them are pretty thin and designed never to be turned, just replaced, and the rears will outlast the front usually several times. Also, it can happen, the rears really only do a significant amount of braking during heavier stops, like if you're pulling something, and if you happen to be towing something or had a bunch of weight in the bed and got them pretty warm, like a stop off an interstate or something, and then you drove through some water, either the snow was melting or it was raining or something, and leak somewhere, get water on them, that can warp them. So that happens occasionally. It's pretty rare that we see rear brake rotors warped on anything in our shop, but we have seen it before. And I have seen it where it's one side. After I saw it the first time, then I started getting my dial indicator out and rotating it to find out what's going on. And it's just the driver's side, and it's done this twice. Something's going on here. This caliper's got to be sticking. And sure enough, brake hose was collapsed inside and causing the caliper to hang up a little bit. Now, when you go back to it, by the time you raise it on the hoist and you start checking, it's not sticking because it's open a little bit. But if you pump up that brake several times, like 20 times with the engine running, so you get a lot of pressure on it, and then release it, and then immediately try to turn both the wheels back there. And if one of them drags, it needs a hose because it'll take longer to apply and longer to release. But those back brake hoses, they'll break down from age, just from the years and the miles, and also the heat off the rotors and the brakes will heat up those hoses and break them down inside.
So in Jeb's case, unless it happens again, he's probably nothing to worry about.
Right. But if it does, then you got to go looking for the source of the issue.
Do you just replace? I mean, at 20 years, does he just replace everything? And
it's at 20 years. If it happens again, I'm going to put on 2 new hoses, 2 new remanufactured calipers, and the pads and rotors.
Does that help you out there, Jeb?
Absolutely. I appreciate it, guys.
Thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. Let's talk to Ray. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Ray, what can we do for you?
How you doing, guys?
Fantastic, Ray. Go ahead.
I called you guys. Yep, I called you guys. I called you guys about 6 weeks ago about. Hang on, I'll get in a better position.
I thought he was going to say I got a better call.
He's under
Hang
the car.
on, I got someone better to talk to. Click. I've had that happen. All right, go ahead, Ray.
Okay. Anyway, I got an 08. I called you guys about 6 weeks ago on 08 4Runner. I was having problems with my power steering pump. And we talked about that little valve that's at the top of it. And
then,
the pressure valve, relief valve.
Okay.
Vacuum.
It's doing it again.
Uh-oh.
Any idea if something else would be causing that? Because like I say, we replaced the power steering pump and then figured out it was that little valve, which everything's been working good, but I'm going through power steering fluid
Russ,
again.
give a recap of what this was for.
Well, they put a vacuum system on these so that at different speeds, they will allow the pressure to bleed off of the pump and keep it from spraying everywhere. Because what happens is that, like at idle speeds, when the fluid is higher, it can spill out. They've had some leaks under the hood, so they put that system on. And if it's not functioning correctly, if the vacuum system does not function correctly, then it will leak.
So what is Ray's, with it happening twice, what is his solution here.
Well, I think that system, something has failed in it again, and it's going to need to be replaced. Either the check valve's bad or something going on in there. But yeah, I did look into that because we just have never had one fail in our shop. So I'm like, what do you mean you got a vacuum line going to your, that's not right. And sure enough, there's a vacuum line going to that, and that's how that system works. But the check valves failing in those is apparently pretty common in them.
Could there be some sort of of course there could be, but
And over full. They said if it's over full.
yeah, over full or
Okay.
like some sort of overpressurization in the system.
If the only way you get that is if the steering is not working correctly. Like if you turn it and go, boy, this thing's really hard to turn, even though it's full, it will push some of that fluid out and do that and burn it.
I'm sure there's a very good procedure for filling that system with the hydraulics to make sure that you are in
Yeah.
the right position and steer lock to lock and different things that are required to get that thing at the right level at the right time. So you need to just double check all that, and like it could just be a part failure.
Ray, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. You're listening to the Under the Hood Show.
Make a radio appointment each week to hear the Nordstrom's Under the Hood Show.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Don't forget, you can watch the show on our YouTube channel if you subscribe and join the Hoodie Fan Club at underthehoodshow.com, which is just existing so we can mail you a hoodie if you win a hoodie.
That's right. Like Gary Wallace, congratulations from our friends over at Universal Technical Institute, uti.edu. You visit uti.edu when you want to become a better mechanic. They can train you.
Mm-hmm.
They've got all the latest technology on
Or
the vehicles.
start
You
right
can
out of high
start
school. If you've never
That's true.
done anything and always wanted to, it's a great place to go.
Anything mechanics. Or if you say, hey, I want to be a CNC machinist, they can get you up to speed with, again, the latest stuff. Plus, industry related, automotive CNC machining. You know, they've got marine mechanics. They've got aircraft mechanics. It's pretty slick. They've got everything there, and you can find it all at uti.edu.
If you're a real go-getter, you could go there, learn CNC machining, and then just open an Etsy store and make stuff like signs.
Sure.
The Evans cabin, but I
Yeah.
could make it out of titanium or rhodium.
High-end, precious metal signs.
Real high-end cabin signs. That's
I
where,
ordered those Prairie House production signs from there.
there you go.
Yeah, but I also ordered a really cool Under the Hood Show one that's supposed to be lit up. It was like $600 to go on our wall out there and everything. Ordered it 3 years ago during COVID. Well, I didn't get it after about 3 months. It said delayed, and I didn't get it. And I was like, well, you've charged me for it. So I got a hold of Etsy, and they said, sorry, not our problem. You have to get a hold of the vendor. I said, well, the vendor won't respond. And they said, not our problem. So
Maybe the vendor's going to UTI to learn how to make that sign. Maybe
maybe that's it. Maybe it'll arrive now. And if you're
Like an
that vendor,
investor.
shame on you. But I was so bummed. So I was like turned off by Etsy. And then, as with everything, you forget why you were mad at somebody, right? Or that you were. And I found those signs there for Doug.
Mhm.
I ordered them up and went, oh no, I hope I get them. And I did.
866-594-4150. Let's go to Tennessee and talk to Jay. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Jay, what can we do for you?
Good morning, gentlemen. I have got a 4500 Chevrolet short bus that has been donated that I'm going to drive out to San Diego and then about 4 hours south of the border to a church that we've planted. And I'm having some trouble with the bus. And I'm a Ford guy, so I'm a little bit over my head on this one, and I'd love some help. The bus has got what I believe is a common problem with Chevy vehicles is the instrument cluster is going a little crazy. And I've got a check engine light, and the OBD2 port is not giving any information to any code readers that I've plugged into it, and I've tried about 4 different readers, and I'm kind of hitting the wall there.
What year is this bus? I mean, to be a 4500 short bus, it's almost got to be like 2007, 8, 9, 10, 11.
It would be a 2009. Yep, 2009.
How short is it?
It's a 22 passenger, I believe, chassis. It's got 16 or 18 seats in it, but it got room for a couple of wheelchairs there in the back, which is going to be
fantastic for carrying luggage and supplies and whatnot.
Just
So,
trying to get
yeah,
a
but the
feel
bus
for
is perfect
trying to get a
for
feel for this thing. So it's a 2009 4500. It's got a 6.6 Duramax in it.
It does,
All right. So here's what's probably happened
and
to it.
it's got 250,000 miles as well. That might be a factor.
Well, you're going to need an instrument cluster because they just all need instrument clusters, especially with that many miles. So get yourself an instrument cluster. Our partner.
It's the port.
Our partner, hey, partner, at Dorman Products makes a instrument cluster replacement, so you can buy the whole thing pre-programmed, ready to go. Bloop, drop it in, you're done. It's going to take you probably 30 minutes to change it. Now, as for why you can't diagnose it, more than likely, it's as simple as a blown fuse. So open the hood, go to the fuse box, and just start checking them. Get yourself like a test light, put one on the ground, and go doot, 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 doot down the thing because they're labeled as different things. But there's a fuse in there that powers the data link. Some of them say DLC right on them, and that's your fuse. Other ones are accessory, cigarette lighter, PowerPoint, different things like that. But that fuse powers the power wire in that diagnostic data link connector under the dash. And if it has no power, you cannot diagnose it because you need a connection of the scanner. So the scanner's reading off the two data wires, but it also needs a good power and a good ground to the chassis of the vehicle, so it's going to physically be connected to the computer so it can talk to it. If it doesn't have onboard power and ground, it won't read. So it's not going to read anything. And that should take care of your data problem and get it going again. And what probably happened is that if it's the same circuit as that accessory power port or something, somebody's plugged a cell phone in at some point and it's blown that fuse, or they've plugged even a scanner into it with a bent pin on it and it's blown that fuse, and now you can't read it. So should be pretty simple for you. Fuse, you can scan it.
Let me
instrument
throw a
cluster.
wrench at that. Let me throw a wrench at that answer.
Well, this is
were
normally
able
when
to
we
get
hang up because it
information.
was such a good
Yeah,
diagnosis. We're just
Good luck, Jay.
Yeah.
Thanks for the call. Okay. No, go ahead.
So our first or second scanner we plugged into it, it was rocking and rolling, things were going fine, and then it couldn't pull the code. And so I was like, well, maybe, we just me and the mechanic I was working with, he said, well, this was his at-home scanner, and so we decided maybe it just didn't have enough to cut the mustard to kind of get this thing working, and it was a little bit of an older scanner. And I will say that after that, every one of them was struggling to connect. So there's a chance that his scanner was indeed old and also was the culprit for maybe ruining it for the future scanners that got plugged in. But we did get data off of that early on in the process. So I will check the fuses.
Yep.
Is there anything that might lead to that problem where I'm connecting to some but not to others, assuming the fuses are all good, or is that kind of like the only likely scenario?
More than likely, that's what's going on, but there are two data buses on that vehicle. There's a high bus and a low bus data rate, and on the CAN bus system, one of them is reading your engine computer and your transmission computer on that Duramax engine and the Allison transmission. The other one's reading things like your body control module, your ABS, and stuff like that. So if you can plug a scanner in and you can read one, but you can't read the other, you could have a module out or a data problem. But if you can't read either one of them, it's
that
pretty unlikely that both systems are down. And if the system for the engine was down, a lot of times it won't change gears because the transmission can't talk to. If you can't talk to it with a scanner, then those two modules can't talk to each other, and they have to talk to each other or it won't shift correctly. So
That's
it's
not gonna be okay.
probably just the fuse.
All right. Well, now I'll say this and mean it.
Well,
Jay.
I was just going to say
Oh,
that
boy.
is the most we've ever used bus in one phone call.
Oh,
CAN
because
bus,
it's a
high
High bus, low bus, short bus.
and it's a short
church bus.
bus
Yeah.
with a short in the bus.
Yeah, that's a lot of bus stuff going on there.
Oh, the short could be in the bus line, meaning the bus has a short and it's a short bus.
Yeah. This is.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Oh,
we're on to something here.
It's like a puzzle wrapped in an enigma. Jay, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. Let us know. Let us know how that goes, and good luck with the project.
it's like a nesting egg.
866-594-4150. Let's talk to Renee. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Renee, what can we do for you?
Hi. My husband has a 2022 Dodge Ram 2500 Hemi, It's got 17,000 miles on it, and it takes 15 to 20 minutes to put gas in it. You have to hold the gas pump handle on the lowest speed or it'll shut off. And we don't know what's causing it.
Boy, that would be can you imagine that would be a really big fuel tank if you could put it on high for 15 to 20 minutes. What would that be, about
Pass.
300 gallons? 400 gallons?
Do you just by chance, does this vehicle drive on a lot of gravel roads or not?
Yeah, we do. We have to drive on a gravel road to get to our house. It's only about, maybe a quarter of a mile. 3/4, somewhere in there.
We know what this is.
That definitely increases the odds of it being a vent valve problem for the tank. Just like anything else, when you try to fill up a cylinder and put water into it, if you don't have a ventilation, it's going to fire back at you, and that'll be enough pressure that it'll trigger that thing.
Anybody who's ever taken a garden hose and stuffed it in like a 2-liter Pepsi bottle and tried to fill the bottle, like when you're a kid, I'm just going to stick the hose in there, and it starts getting like pressure and coming out. But if you leave a little air gap,
I had that with the camper that filling the fresh water, and the tank had.
Yeah, when I borrowed it, I had to fix it, right? Because it was.
I think you did.
I found out when they put the seat in, they screwed the wood of the seat down to the vent.
What if I had a
So
really
you'd fill it, and all of a sudden it's just like
right in your face,
flying back,
and I didn't believe him. I'm like, it's fine. I'm soaked.
So this is pretty common.
Yeah.
And because it's new, you kind of know that it's not over time, right?
Well, it's been a 22. You just don't hear this problem unless there's some environmental factors. I mean, it can happen. They've got to open up
2
and
years
vent.
old, almost 3 probably.
that's-
Well, and it's not like we use it a lot because, like I said, there's only 17,000 miles on it.
But every one of
And,
those miles started on a gravel road and ended on a gravel road.
If you've got a half a mile to get to your paved road, then that means 1 mile every time you take it out. And if you've taken it out 20 times, that's 20 miles of gravel and 20 miles of just pouring mud, or dust and dirt. And when it gets wet and then you park it, it dries up and doesn't have a chance to vent.
It's something like that. It's not venting the tank. Whether we're picking on the gravel road.
Definitely a vent problem.
Because you told us that. And
Because
I
it
asked,
worked
but
the day you bought it, right?
Yeah.
When you first filled it, it worked like the first 2 or
Yeah.
3 times. There you go.
Yeah.
Then it's a vent plug.
Yeah.
Do we know? So the vent valve, it just has to be replaced on this, right? Is there a way to not have this happen?
Yes.
Okay.
So,
After it's replaced.
yep.
This is
So-
pretty straightforward to go in and get
Yeah.
it replaced, right?
So again, our partners at Dorman Products, they make their living out of, we say they make the products better, not just make them aftermarket. Here's how they made it better. They made a vent valve that has, instead of the vent being right on the valve under the truck over the axle, they have put a hose on it that's extended to go way up
Okay.
high where there's a lot less dust
Sure.
with a vent up there to get it out of the area of the dust. Now, the factory could have done this, but the factory knows that most of the vehicles are run on regular roads and it won't affect it.
Sure.
And that piece of hose with that vent for the factory would maybe cost them, another, let's say 80 cents per truck times 500,000 trucks. Ooh, that's a lot of money. So let's not put it on there. Or they got to pass that on to you for most trucks that aren't ever going to need it, and it's a waste of material. So when you replace that valve, now that truck should have an 8-year, 80,000-mile warranty on this emission system, which means they would normally have to replace it for free, except because it was damaged by dirt, physical damage, they're going to charge you for it.
But
if
worth bringing in to check.
Right. If it failed on its own, then they would just replace it. So you got 8-year, 80,000 on the EVAP system, on the catalytic converters, all those things that are on emissions.
Might be
But
under the factory warranty period.
they may still
cover it.
cover it, because I have seen it covered the first time for sure on these vehicles, but as it fails the second time, you'll want to update it.
That is the most likely culprit.
Renee, thanks very much for the call. Do we know if there are, and I'm not joking, are there different gravels that are worse parts of the country? I bet
Yes.
that exists.
Yeah, so there's a lot of limestone. Down in Texas, we had red dirt, and I just didn't have this vent valve. I have friends, they're like, no, we don't replace them. It must be the red dirt. I don't know if our friends up in Minnesota or western South Dakota, we should ask them.
It's all about the number of
And
the number of fines that they
Yeah.
leave in the grinding process.
Even eastern Minnesota has way different gravel than we
I
do.
love the red dirt, red clay. It just doesn't get in the air as much as the line.
Hard
the
to get
stuff
off,
we
though.
have. Yes.
866-594-4150. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you on the Under the Hood Show.
Car feeling ill? Don't want to spread it to your wallet? Call the Motor Medics now for free advice.
866-594-4150. Let's talk to Jake. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Jake, what can we do for you?
Hi, I got a 2017 Ford Expedition, and it was salvaged when I bought it, and the key fob is not working for the remote functions. It'll start the car, but I can't get the locks and trunk release and all that.
All right, so you've got a push button start on it?
Yes. Yep.
All right, so that is working. It may just need to be programmed. They may have put a
It's
fob.
not detecting it in the car.
Okay.
I
well,
have to put it in the slot.
Okay.
Oh, okay. You have to if you have to put it in the slot, then that means it's not getting power. You've checked the battery in that remote, right?
Yeah, I've changed it out twice.
Okay.
I had a 4Scan hooked up to it. I reprogrammed it. I know it had some airbag work done to it. And I know that vehicle uses a TPMS sensor as your remote fob.
It uses
antenna?
the system. Yeah, right. So they've got a wireless gateway in there, and that's going to read your TPMS and also your remote. That's everything wireless, and that will function through that. The first thing I would start with, if you already reprogrammed it and it didn't help and you've got to still put it in that slot, I would take the remotes you have and find a auto parts store or a locksmith or even like an Ace Hardware or something that has on the counter has a machine that will test that signal. And as you push the buttons, it'll light up and say, we've received a signal. Even if you get close to it if you get like within 2 feet, it'll light up and say, we've detected the perimeter fob for the push button start. And then as you push buttons, it'll say, we've detected another button being pushed. I have a tire pressure sensor monitor tool from Altel, and I turn that on, and it asks me what kind of vehicle it is, and then it says, hold the remote within 2 feet of me. And when I do that, it lights up and says, we're good to start. I've detected a start signal. Now hold the remote at arm's length, like 3 or 4 feet away, if you're really tall. Chris?
Mine would just say
and then
too close.
Push the buttons, and it'll say that each button I've pushed and how many times I've pushed it, so I know if it's working. And I've had remotes that have nothing. They just don't do anything, and I put them in the slot, and they do work. But when they're not in the slot, I get nothing, and I've had to replace the remote. And I've had some cars where both remotes were bad, especially if they were ones that sat.
I also bought a brand new one and put a brand new battery in it and programmed that.
Nothing?
So I'm at a loss here.
Well, if you look at the scanner and the scanner says it's not receiving it, and you've programmed it to the car, and you know for a fact now you've got, let's say, a couple bad remotes, and you've got a new one that didn't work, and you're certain they're programmed correctly, then it's got to be that wireless module that is
the receiver.
Yeah, right, the receiver, because that has to be programmed to the vehicle and receive the signals. As long as that module is working, you can go to it, scan it. There's no codes in it, so it's got power and ground and everything's working. Then we know that module's bad. I have rarely had one of those fail, and I've never had one fail on this model Expedition or Ford truck in this model year.
What was done in the airbag system?
They were replaced, the curtain airbags, and that sensor's right up in the roof with it. But I tested it. It has power at 2 wires. And yeah, I still get nothing to it.
Can you read it with the scan tool?
Oh, and that's another thing. I can't find it on 4Scan. I cannot find the TPMS sensor.
If you can't find it on there, then that system has to have power and ground, and then the 2 CAN bus data wires, the twisted pair wires, they can't be broken or open or shorted anywhere. So the first thing we got to do before you even try to get the remotes working is be able to read that module. Plug your scanner into it, and then we're going to have to test. You're going to have to unplug that unit and test the conductivity on those wires. Make sure there's no opens or no shorts to power or ground on the bus side. 2 calls in a row bus almost. But check those bus wires to make sure that there's no corruption of the data on it. And then your power and ground. You know you got power and ground because you said you checked those. But those two twisted pair data bus wires, they've got to be clean with no breaks. And if it has been in an accident, it's possible that one of them broke or
Got
by
pinched and
pulling it out and putting bags in it. There's been a thing. I know when I put my bags in my Yukon, I pulled a harness on the dash and it unplugged it as I put it together, and I found it as I was putting it together. But if I would have skipped over it,
That would have given you a headache.
I'm like, okay, now I got to start over. But I pulled that plug out and I plugged it back in. I was fine. But that was part of the ceiling where my antenna was for OnStar and all that.
Jake, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. Let's talk to Rick. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Rick, what can we do for you?
Hey, Rick. Or, hey, guys. I'm a long ways from you. I'm over in Renner, South Dakota. All right?
Okay. Oh, yeah. Long distance caller.
Did you just knock?
I know. I should just run over to you guys.
Open the window, Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't take calls like that. You got to do it here, so you're doing the right thing.
No. My question is, I got a 2017 Ram 1500 with a Hemi 5.7. On the fobs, the remote start almost doesn't never work anymore. I mean, it works probably 20% of the time. I've got two fobs. I've put so many batteries in them that I think that's been eliminated. Good quality batteries. And if it does work, it only works from about 50 feet away. And it used to work fine over all the years. Any ideas on that?
Did we have an EM Pulse at some point I don't know about just affecting
it
all
is
this? Because
solar.
this is like the third call.
Sun is
about
getting ready to switch poles.
weird remote control
Keep an eye.
issues.
Well, that'll do it. But
Solar flares.
if you've switched batteries but you haven't switched remotes, it could be that the remote is breaking down. The remotes, one of the reasons they're so cheap is because they sell so many of them. You can buy some of those. You can get some of those on eBay and stuff for $12 for two and $25 for a pack of 4 or 6. It's amazing how cheap they got. It's because they're made cheaply, and they don't last very long. They're in your pocket. You get sweaty. They just don't work the way they used to.
Did
Sometimes
you say you've tried multiple remotes and you're getting the same behavior?
Well, yeah, I have two factory remote fobs, and those are the ones I've tested, and they both work as described. You know, they don't really start the vehicle anymore. I didn't know if there was something on the vehicle that was receiving that signal that
it does
maybe
have
had to be looked at.
It does have a receiver, but they rarely fail. It's usually something in that remote. And again, with one of those, I'd get myself a reader that reads that, or get it to where somebody has one of those. Typically, the reader that reads your tire pressure monitors to see if they're good, like at a tire store. We use those, and then we push the button, and sometimes I'll have to have it sitting on the counter while one of our partners in the shop is looking at it, and I push the button, and I keep getting further away from it, and they say, it's not reading it. Well, if I know I'm 30 feet away and I push one of the remotes and it doesn't do anything, it's not working, and you got to hit that lock button and then hit the start button. So if both of those don't work exactly right in the right sequence, it's not going to start. So it's very likely that's what's going on. That's where we start. So somebody with a tire pressure sensor reader will be able to read that.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
If you can read your tires, it can read your remote.
Not everybody's got one of them either. But
RKE. That's what they call them.
Rick, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. That's going to do it for hour one of the show. The phone number to reach us, 866-594-4150. Hour two is coming up. You're listening to the Under the Hood Show, brought to you by Sturdivant's. Welcome to the Under the Hood Show. We are glad to have you with us. Russ Evans is here to answer your automotive questions.
Hey, thanks for joining us under the hood.
Shannon Nordstrom is here to do the same.
Welcome, hoodies. Thanks for tuning in so we can help you tune up.
I'm Chris Carter, here to answer your calls at 866-594-4150. 866-594-4150. And we're at one of those times of the year. It is weird that it happens this way, but it is time sensitive to the time of the year, it seems. We are just filled with calls and callers all the time these weeks. And then there'll come a time when there just won't be calls because it's cyclical and it matches across radio shows. That's
you
the
do
weird part.
you do another one.
Yeah, and it's a weird phenomenon.
Spring fever.
Right now, we're going to talk to Carter because we're going to get right to the calls. Carter, you're on the Under the Hood show. What can we do for you?
Hey guys, I got a question about my 2005 Chevy Silverado. I had just replaced a transfer case, 246 GM transfer case tag number. I pulled a transfer case off of a parts truck. It was a 98 Silverado, same case number. I got it pulled down, and I come to find out that the actuator or the motor that bolts onto the transfer case is a 4-pin in the 98. Mine being a 05 was a 7-pin. One was a star shaft pattern and one was a square shaft. I was just curious when the crossover year was when they switched from the square shaft to the star shaft. And then there's another part to that question. I did the transfer case and I replaced the CV axles in the front, and I'm still getting an intermittent pop when I'm backing up straight or I have my wheels slightly turned, and I can't get it to do it when I have anyone with me. So I think I might be going crazy.
Well, let's just
That's
accept
possible.
that and move on.
Yeah, let's go with that, and then that problem's
That's what
solved.
everyone's telling me.
Just go fishing.
That's what they're all saying.
Well, they switched in when the Silverado style started in '99, the new generation. That's when they went to that different style of communication. They got more data moving around than they had in that previous CK series from 90. Well,
They went to a sensor in
Yeah.
the shift motor, a circuit sensor, which sensed the position, where the old ones used to have a couple external sensors bolted in to read when it was in four-wheel drive and low and all that. So that's where it was at. So they're not interchangeable.
Okay, yeah, I did those 3 intermediate housing nuts on the top, and those are a pain in the butt enough as it was. And I got it down and found out that I couldn't use it. So I found another one out of a 6.0 with the same tag number and a 7-pin connector, and I made that work. So
Yeah, that will work. But the old ones,
interesting that one of the 6.0 had the right input shaft on it.
yeah, it had the star input shaft for the motor.
it
No,
should if
for
it's
the
99 or newer.
yeah, for the transmission to the transfer case though.
It had the right one. Yep.
Oh, interesting. Because I would have thought that the 6-liter truck would have been a heavier duty truck with a 4L80 in it, probably, and that would have had a different output shaft on the transmission compared to the
And
lighter
that's kinda
duty
what
one.
I thought too. Yeah, it was weird because all 3 of them had the same tag number, but they were all kind of slightly different from each other.
I'm starting to think you're crazy now too, Carter.
I'm telling you,
Crazy
I'm telling
like
you,
a
Chris.
fox.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know Carter. He's a hoodie. We know Carter. He knows he's into this stuff. Now,
Yes, sir.
my first hunch is that you've got something in that front differential where the engagement fork is catching.
This is on part 2.
If it's making a noise like that, but going straight, it shouldn't. Oh,
Well,
Russ,
see,
what are you
that's
thinking?
that's the only diff I haven't touched is that front one.
Well, it could be the differential, and it also could be the transfer case jumping if it's weak inside and it's jumping. We just put 2 in this week. Yesterday, we put them both in because under load, they would jump. They would jump a tooth on the chain. They're pretty finely
Okay.
spaced
And that's
together.
the problem I was having.
Yep, you turn a little bit, they'll jump, but that's the common issue is the case. The weakest point in the case is the chain and the gears. They start to stretch and then they jump.
Yeah, well, and I rebuild starters for the most part, so I think I'm going to try to tackle a
You can do it.
246. I think I'm going to rebuild one. So
Yeah, you can buy a chain and they sell a rebuild kit. You can buy the whole thing for it. It just, when you take it apart slowly and watch the YouTube video first. It'll show you what position to put that in because you want to lay it down. I can't remember if it's down or up, but you want to lay it one direction because when you take that case haft off slowly, if it's not in the right position, parts are going to go everywhere and you're going to be a while trying to figure out where they go back in. But if you take it apart slowly and kind of jiggle it around and shake it as you're taking it off of there real slow, they'll all drop down and stack in there nice and straight so you won't have all those pieces everywhere.
It's
like having your socket set upside down when you take it out and open
it's
it.
exactly the same thing.
That's good advice because that's where I would fail. I would go, I can take this apart. Oh, I should have paid attention.
You
when I
can't
was
have the
doing
socket set upside down when you open it. You can't have it sideways when you open it, either direction. It has to be the right orientation. Same way with this transfer case where pieces are going to go everywhere.
that. Carter, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. Thanks for hanging in there with us, too, over the break. We appreciate that. 866-594-4150. Let's go to Rhode Island and talk to Dave. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Dave, what can we do for you?
First of all, thanks for taking my call.
You bet.
And my problem is, I'll give you an example. I get into my truck in the driveway, start it up, put it in drive, and it will go by itself right out to the road. And then I put my foot on the accelerator and we take off. I hop into my wife's car, the Acadia, start it up and put it in gear. There's nothing. It doesn't move at all until I push that accelerator. Is there anything we're looking at here?
What's your truck?
Silverado.
Yeah,
GMC.
Okay, with the V8 and those, they just, the way they're set up, the torque converter and everything, little higher idle. Yeah, they'll typically move a little bit. The Acadia, the Traverse, everything with that 3.6, the way it's designed, if it's cold, if you start it up cold, like say 50 degrees outside, fire it up, put it in gear right away, it should probably move a little bit with your foot off the brake and the accelerator. But as soon as it warms up and it idles down, I can't remember one of those ever moving, because I know I've backed them out of the shop and put them in gear, and it'll just sit there on a slight incline and won't go anywhere. It seems to be normal in the system.
That's the slight incline at a stoplight. I have to keep my foot on the brake.
Yep, or it'll roll backwards.
Oh, definitely.
Yep, I've found that with those, it just seems to be the characteristic, the way they built them, the torque converter and the setup with the clutches inside. They'll allow them pump
and
pressure.
A lot of the newer
really
vehicles,
low.
they've came up with the technology because of they've made it so easy for themselves, but they can have like hill holders that will just, hold it and you won't notice those things on inclines. And so most likely your vehicle, if it's working good and running good, doesn't have any lights flashing at you, and it goes down the road good, I wouldn't overthink it.
Does it ever bog out or near die when you switch it into gear?
No, runs fantastic.
Yeah,
I think letting out your heart be troubled and keep driving.
Yeah. Dave, thanks very much for the call. That's a good one. I like calls where that's the outcome. 866-594-4150. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you on the Under the Hood Show.
Get your planner out right now and schedule your next radio appointment with the Motor Medics.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Let's talk to Tony. You're on the Under the Hood Show. What can we do for you, Tony?
Good morning, guys. Can you hear me?
You bet. Go ahead.
I got a 2016 Subaru Impreza 2.0. It's a 5-speed manual, and it was throwing a code on the position 1, my son's car. And I thought, I took the spark plug out, and I thought it little oil. So I thought it was a valve cover gasket. Took the valve cover off, and a spring was broken right inside. Just want to know what you guys thought.
That can happen on those if they break the spring, and the valve's allowed to hang open a little bit. You can get an engine misfire, and it can be as simple as taking the spark plug out, running the piston all the way down with those, so the valve should be, and make sure they should be closed, and then apply air pressure in there, and it'll hold the valves up, so you can use a spring compressor and just replace the spring, and then you're fixed. If the valve has dropped too far down and been hit by the piston, it can bend the valve, and then it's going to leak. You got to pull the head and fix it. So hopefully it's not bent yet, and you can seal it up. And you'll know if it's leaking, because if you put pressure in that cylinder before you even put a spring on it, if you pull that valve up and it seals up and closes and it's not coming out, where if it's an exhaust valve, it's not leaking there, intake not leaking, then you're sealed, you're good. Just put a new spring on it and you're fine. But check the other springs too. Just look at them as close as you can with a flashlight. Sometimes you can't see if they're starting to crack or if they've already cracked. You don't know until they break and start dropping valves down. It's not a super common problem, but we have seen some of them break springs like that, especially cars with dual springs. We see those break more often.
Yeah, it has 160,000 miles on it. I don't know if there was an issue where you take it in and they fix it and then something else is wrong.
Oh, you could. On that car, the most common thing is going to be a leaky head gasket, oil leaking, or a little bit of coolant leaking out that gasket. Oil leaks are common on those, and most of our customers say, I don't want to fix it. It's got 160 to 200,000 miles. I'm just going to drive it unless it's pouring on the driveway. If it's just a couple drips here and there, they just leave it and let it go because of the cost to pull those heads and redo them. And you don't want to pull heads off a motor that's got that many miles and go through them and clean them up and make sure the valves are tight and everything, put it all back together. Well, the leak stops, but now you've got a little more compression usually,
Right.
and now you could have oil burning on the bottom end of the motor.
Yeah, if it runs good enough and it has not hit a valve and you can put a spring on it for a few $100s and keep running it, your alternative is thousands of dollars, which
Yeah.
maybe makes you junk the car. So,
Tony, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. Let's go to Colorado and talk to Brandon. You're on the Under the Hood show. Brandon, what can we do for you?
Hey guys, I called in a while back, or a couple days ago. I have a 99 Subaru Forester with the 2.5. I was having issues with my keyless entry. Kind of skimmed through this. Anytime it has the starter interrupt, so I shorted the emergency override wires because anytime I use my power locks, it would blow the fuse. Well, I get to fiddling with it over the past few days, and turns out there was a 10 amp maxi fuse under the dash, like in the keyless wiring, all taped up and everything. Unless you're really looking for it, you're not going to notice it. But that was it. That was the only problem with the fuse. Other than the airbag light that's on now. But
why would that fuse have blown?
Well, that's the thing with the aftermarket remote start. You got an aftermarket remote start.
This is factory.
So the factory remote start?
There's no remote start. It's just keyless entry. There's no remote start. It's just factory keyless entry from Subaru.
That should be a dealer installed keyless entry if it's got the fuse under the dash. In fact, dealer harness and everything. So, but the way that thing works, that's a 5-wire reverse polarity relay system. So it removes the ground.
Of course it is.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah, we knew that, Russ.
Of course. I knew you guys would get it.
I got a vision in my head right now.
And the way it works is you got power and ground coming in, but you've got the wires for the lock, both unlock and lock. There's 2 wires on each door. And when you hook them up to the battery one way, positive, negative, it locks. You pull the wires off, reverse the polarity, and it unlocks, right? Lock, unlock. You just basically like putting the plug in the wall and you're turning it upside down if it worked that way. Jumper cables backwards. So anyways, to do that, you need a relay that has both these wires shorted to ground all the time, unless there's power applied to the relay on the unlock side. Therefore, it removes the ground from one side, hits power to it, unlocks it. Then it puts it back at ground. Then when you hit it the other way, it removes the ground from the other leg and puts power to that. So one's always at ground, and then the other one will go to power only when it's activated. So if that relay's not working right and you apply power to it and both of them are grounded, blows the fuse. So it may be that you got a relay starting to go bad and it's caused it to blow that fuse. So now you put a fuse in and it's fixed it. So look for another problem coming to your world shortly.
Yeah, that's what's next.
Probably.
Yeah, it's only been a couple of days, so I just got it going, so we'll see.
Let's call it good right now.
Yeah, just
keep an extra fuse.
Push the buttons lightly.
Look at if it fails again, get another fuse and find the door lock relays, and you should be able to lock and unlock the door with a button and listen for the click under the dash, or use the keyless entry and listen for the click, click. And when you find them, pull them and get a couple more and replace them.
Brandon, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. Let's go to Arkansas and talk to Aaron. You're on the Under the Hood show. Aaron, what can we do for you?
Morning, guys.
Hey.
I've got a 2016 Ram Laramie package truck, and I'm having an issue with the heated seats. My question, I took it to a dealership, and of course, they wanted $350 to hook the seat up to a computer. And then in 2016 to 2018, there's an occupancy sensor molded into the seat foam. So the seat foam is $850. I don't think it's the heated seat part of it. I think it's the occupancy sensor, just because when somebody's sitting in that seat, the warning light, if they don't have their seatbelt on, the warning light doesn't come up on the dash. Any idea other than the occupancy sensor?
Well, that could be a problem for that light, but do the seat heaters not work as well?
No, but if nobody's sitting in the seat, the heated seats won't work.
Yeah, so it could be that the sensor's going bad, but if you find out that, and all that can be tested with a voltmeter and doing some checking using the factory service manual. But it sounds like you need to find a dealer that our other listener had the other hour. He went in a couple times. They didn't charge him anything. It was great.
Yeah.
We all want to know where that dealer's at, but I'll bring them all my cars. They could diagnose them for free, and then just I'll work. Anyways, if you find that's bad, I would probably not opt. I don't think that I'd opt for that brand new seat option. I think I would be going to our partner at car-part.com and getting a whole seat. And you don't have to worry. If you get a seat with lower miles, so it's been sat on less, but it's not so pretty or it's the wrong color, well, the cushion underneath doesn't care. They're all the same. So, get one with a stain on it. Oh, hey, I found one with 62,000 miles, but it's got a stain. Somebody can use it. You can use it. Take the cushion apart, replace the cushion. There's your fix. There may be some aftermarket options available out there as well. There are a few, I know the GMs now, like the Silverados and the Tahoes, that 99 to 06 region. There are lots of places you can buy seat cushions, and they're like $75 with the heater and the sensors built in, compared to a lot more at other places. So I would go that route. But we don't see many of the Rams with heated seat.
No, and if they're both not working, that sensor's not working and the heated seat's not working, I suppose you better double check that continuity of the wiring going to that seat and make sure there's not something that's been pinched or something rammed underneath and it hit a wire. Or
he said ram, get it, Ram truck.
Just by the knowledge that this isn't common, so it might be a different.
And if you do order a whole seat, you don't need the seat track, so you get it without track, because a lot of these places sell the tracks by themselves. They've taken them off.
Yeah, we've kind of gotten away from that.
And but if you find one like that, it's cheaper to ship. But if you get one, plug in the seat and make sure the seat works before you go swapping all the covers and all that stuff. You want to make sure the part actually works first.
Is it a selling point? They used to say, "Oh, this car was only driven by a little old lady, one owner."
Nah.
Is it a selling point if it was a real skinny guy who owned it?
Oh yeah,
like this guy, this seat was on
only pressured on by a skinny guy.
It was a teenager's car. And she was real light,
but I'm like bony, and I have like certain points that just get penetrated differently.
Yeah,
so that might not be good either.
They say, like, when you buy the bed, and they're like, they're guaranteed for life. We'll fix it if it's not going to. Yeah, well, the beds still sag, and you have to get them fixed. Car seats do the same thing. Big people.
That is weird. We don't think of that. I mean,
no, but you do after you sleep in it for 6 months.
Back to Aaron though. There are some specific tests that can be done.
Yeah, you can check the occupancy sensor. You can check everything in that seat can be checked. If you've got a manual that tells you what the reading's supposed to be, and a voltmeter.
Start with checking the wiring. Follow the wiring where it goes. Make sure there's continuity to it.
Aaron, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you on the Under the Hood Show. 866-594-4150.
Prepare to learn something. You're going under the hood.
866-594-4150. You're listening to the Under the Hood Show. Don't forget you can watch the Under the Hood Show on our YouTube channel. And if you subscribe to the YouTube channel and join the Hoodie Fan Club at underthehoodshow.com, you could win a hoodie.
Like Luann Madison, congratulations from all of us here on Under the Hood and our friends over at Universal Technical Institute. Find them at uti.edu.
866-594-4150. Let's go to Minnesota and talk to Ed. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Ed, what can we do for you?
Yeah, thanks for entertaining me. I got couple of questions. 2 weeks ago, you were talking about sulfur that they've taken out of diesel fuel. I believe they took it out of the road fuel and farm fuel.
Everything.
But I haven't found anybody to say what level it should be in for diesels.
They have brought it down to, I'm losing my mind. Was it 8 parts per million? 8 ppm? Is that what's on the pump, Shannon? Where you see that you fill up with diesel?
No, I've never.
I think it's 8 parts per million. It's right on every diesel fuel pump. It'll say this fuel meets a maximum of, I think it's 8 parts per million of sulfur. So it's ultra low sulfur, USL, ULS, ultra low sulfur diesel fuel. Anyways, it's, that's required by EPA, federal law, that no more than that part than the parts per million is on. I want to say it's 8, but look at the pump. Next time you fill up a diesel pump,
it's adequate. Is that adequate for the diesel engine?
No, never.
Did you put the
Nope. It's not. Even the brand new ones that are designed to run better on that fuel, they still will fail. We still put a number of injectors in. If they have never, in our shop, we put more injectors in vehicles where the customer tells us they've never run additive in it than ones that have run additive. The ones that run an additive in every single tank full, like their partners at Justice Brothers, make a really good diesel fuel additive for both summer, and then they make one for winter. They put it in their anti-gel as well, and it lubricates the fuel. Those people that are running that additive year-round, summer and winter, and not just winter in their anti-gel, they have very low failure rates of injectors. People who run just the anti-gel in the winter and nothing in the summer for a additive, they have a little higher rate of injector failure. And the ones that run nothing, theirs are even higher. And you can go to a pump and they have, if it's got the right fuel in it, if it's labeled correctly, if it says premium diesel fuel, most of the time that has some kind of additive in it, and it helps. But a lot of places don't have that option available. You know you're getting it right if you're putting an additive in. Even if I run the premium diesel fuel, which I do a lot because it's usually not super expensive compared to the other, like maybe 5 to 10 cents more, I will use that, and then I will put an additive in every tank, summer and winter, to make sure that I'm protecting it. And farm fuel has a nice dye to it, but that just means it's supposed to be tax-free fuel that you're running in it. That's why they don't want it on the road highway use vehicle. But it's not lubricated anymore. And I'm not sure what they do with trains and big industrial equipment like that, what kind of fuel is being run in that as far as additives. Little different injection system on those engines, on the bigger Caterpillar engines and Cummins engines, things like that. But you've got to run that additive. It's just going to protect your engine. It's cheap insurance.
When they deliver the farm fuel,
mm-hmm.
do they put that additive right in the?
There are some companies that will. You talk to them about what you want delivered, and they will. Like as an example here, we get our bulk fuel from Midway Fuel Station, Volun Oil, locally. And Bruce, him and I grew up together, and it's in my wedding. You just get a long-time family connection there.
Do you get, is this a special thing for you? Because
no,
he was in your wedding?
I did choose to talk about it.
That this was that. Yeah, okay.
But no, they have a package of a fuel that you can buy that comes with the correct blends, and they watch it really close all summer. They put the additives in. They're getting some different stuff out of Canada than a lot of places have. But I mean, you can talk to your fuel supplier and have them, if they're big time into bulk oil, bulk fuel, they'll have a solution for you that's farm ready.
Ed, thanks very much for the call. 866-594-4150. Let's go to Arizona now and talk to Bill. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Bill, what can we do for you?
Well, as you pointed out, I'm in Arizona. I'm domiciled in Wyoming, and my story started there. Continued through several highly unlikely to be qualified mechanics. Let me put it that way. but I ran into one in Page, Arizona, he's a Native American gentleman who has his own shop, and he, as far as I can tell, he and his guy that answers the phone for him are the only two people who work there. I went in there one Thursday several months ago and paid him $120 for a diagnostic, and he did the diagnostic, and he told me that they wouldn't be able to do anything until the following Monday, when their intent at that point was to put a fuel injector in. Well, when I got back there the following Monday, they had the fuel injector, but they weren't going to put it in. He spent another 6 hours doing everything that he could come up with to try to diagnose the problem with the vehicle. And what he managed to give me, in addition to my $120 back, because he wasn't able to actually say what the problem was, so he wasn't going to charge me. But I don't know anybody else is going to do that. But in any case, he basically came up with the idea that because the problem only exists when the engine is warm, that it couldn't possibly have had anything to do with fuel injectors. So he proceeded to start looking for the cause. He came up with the idea that basically what's happening is that the mist that I have is only present from 1,000 to 1,500 RPM when the vehicle is under load, when the engine's under load. In other words, it doesn't happen when it's in park, and it doesn't happen when it's in neutral. It only happens when it's actually in gear and going down the road. Okay. And it also only happens when the engine is warm. The engine runs completely normally when it's cold first thing in the day when I start it. The problem, the misfire only appears after it becomes warm. And I've gotten to the point where I figured out, well, I don't think that whatever is causing the problem is going to cause it to fail. If it did, that would at least give me a situation where I could tow it in and actually find the problem, because the problem would still be there. But the bottom line is I've come to the conclusion, as have many people I've told about this, that this is a problem going on in the engine control unit. And consequently, that leaves me with the question is, okay, well, since it's thermally related, I've been told that there are two different thermostats on this engine. They both go to the ECU. One of them goes through the ECU to the dashboard gauge. And I'm just trying to find out at this point if that's true, that there are two thermostats. And if that's the case, then since the thermostat on the dashboard, the gauge has never changed the way that it's read in the 14 years that I've owned this vehicle. So I'm thinking if there's another thermostat involved on the engine, that it might possibly be scrambling the function of the ECU and causing this problem. If that's the case, since it doesn't reflect on anything on the dashboard, could it, if all that is true, could I simply replace basically take the other thermostat out of the circuit, replace it with a resistor that won't change value ever at all, indicating a temperature change, and maybe would that solve the problem?
Okay, so you're talking about the temperature sensor that is going back to the ECU and the gauge.
There's one.
Yeah.
The computer reads it, sends it off to the gauge. Just forget about that. I think all this stuff that's going on, I think it may have a bad ignition coil on it. It's that simple. You got a misfire under load. The reason it does it when it's warm instead of cold is because as the plastic warms up a little bit, it's more porous. It leaks voltage out the side. It has a misfire. I only say this because I've seen this probably 200, 300, 400 times on Ford products and other products with ignition misses like this. So it can happen.
In the van, you got a lot more heat underneath there,
and
too.
The only way you're going to find it is if you put an oscilloscope on the engine where you can see the spark pattern, drive it, and see what's going on. And if the shop
it happen,
if the shop has a scanner that has an oscilloscope, they can hook one to the injectors, they can hook one to the ignition coils, and they can watch it, and they can see which cylinder is misfiring and when. Because if it has a misfire that the computer picks up, that scanner will 100% figure out which cylinder or all of them that are showing the misfire. I can watch the pattern, the raster on it, and if it's is spiking and dropping out, there is my missing cylinder, and it'll show me exactly where it's missing. Is it missing on the input side from the computer? Is it missing on the output side, like in the coil itself in the secondary? Or is it jumping through on a spark plug and missing? I can see where that's occurring. And if it's in the coil's bad. But as many of those as we've put coils on, especially in warmer climates, that leads me to that. But as far as the other sensors in that, we just don't almost never have a problem with the electronic system with that computer. And I've never put an engine computer in an E-Series van from 2000 to 2010. We haven't had one fail unless it's been crashed and broken. So they're pretty tough.
Bill, thanks very much for the call. I feel good that the answer here is probably a lot simpler than he was worried about.
Well, for the amount of dollars they're going to spend and more time, just put one in. They're not that expensive.
Well, and it's of the age where it's time for a tune-up. It's time for coils and spark plugs.
866-594-4150. Let's go to California and talk to Frank. You're on the End of the Hood Show. Frank, what can we do for you?
Hi, guys. Love the show like everyone else does. Been listening to you for a long time.
Thanks, Frank.
The problem is I've got a 66 Chevy Corvette. It's got the
That's not a problem.
427 motor in it. Yeah, thanks. I don't think so either. Anyway, I've owned this car since I got out of high school, and I'm 72 years old. The car is what's going on with it is that I put an aluminum radiator in it with twin spall fans because it always likes to run warm. The radiator and fans are doing a really good job of that. The only issue I have is that when the fans do kick on, there's a noticeable drop in the idle of the car. So the car usually I usually like to idle it around 850 or 900 RPMs. And it'll drop it down maybe at least 200 RPMs when the fans kick on. And it's an inconvenience. The car runs okay. I can keep it going with the gas pedal and stuff. I was just wondering if that's a problem. It has a 100 amp alternator on it, and the fans, I believe, are 25 amps each. So there should be plenty of power for that. It's just, I'm just kind of curious of what you guys thought on that. Do I need to put a larger charge wire off the alternator? Will that help?
How big a cam does this car have? Is it the factory cam?
Yeah, it's got the 425 horse cam, which is a solid lifter cam.
There you go. So with the solid lifter cam and the higher lift and duration of this cam, it's got a little choppy idle to it. So it's going to have less vacuum at idle, which means that any load you put on this engine is really going to make a big difference in that idle speed. Is this a manual transmission or automatic?
Yeah, it's a 4-speed Muncie.
Okay, so then I believe that cam's even a little more different, because with an automatic it would have a higher stall converter, because it would actually just die in gear with an automatic unless it had that higher stall converter. With the manual trans and the bigger cam, and it's pretty sensitive. You could basically put your finger on it and slow it down because there's less vacuum at idle. So the bigger the alternator, amperage wise, you could have a 300 amp alternator on there if you could get such a thing. The bigger the alternator, it'll supply the power, but it uses more horsepower to run. The alternator will pull enough amperage when you kick those fans on, or your heater inside and your wipers and all that, that it will slow the engine down, the equivalent of dropping it into gear if it was an automatic, or letting the clutch out a little bit. You might be pulling anywhere from 5 to 10 horsepower off the engine by trying to run a 50 amp load off of that alternator. So it's basically the belt is slowing down the engine. If you took the belt off that engine and fired it up just for a minute and kicked those fans on, the engine shouldn't slow down at all.
Be a good test.
The reason it's slow, or just don't just unplug the alternator.
Yeah.
Take the little wire off the alternator and do the same thing so your water pump's running. But you'll notice it doesn't slow down. So what I've seen people do to get around this, they have turned the fans so that when the car starts up, the fans are on all the time, and they put a relay in them so they'll idle up. They'll turn the fans on all the time, then they'll idle it up to the idle that they want with the clutch pushed in, the car in neutral, whatever. And then they will put a relay on the fan so that when the car reaches a speed where the road speed and the airflow through overcomes what the fans would normally do, let's say 40 miles an hour, the relay shuts off and shuts down the fans. And they'll get a speed sensor from a company like Dakota Digital that can get a cruise control type sensor that reads off the drive shaft and tells this relay, okay, we've hit 40 miles an hour, click on a relay, and then it takes a little doing, but you can engineer it to wire it in so it shuts off the relay as we drive down the road. So when you get to a road speed, it'll kill it because you don't want the fans running all the time at the high speed, but you'll have to have them running at the lower speed. And that's how you overcome that speed issue.
All right, we got to take a break, but
we got to be quick, don't we? Do it now?
Yeah.
Blue.
Black.
I was going to say that silvery blue. What color is the Vet?
It's black.
It's black. Ta-da.
Look at you.
Yeah, try the thing, though. I mean, contact Dakota Digital and see if they're online, dakotadigital.com. Find out if they have something that will control a relay via road speed, and that would help you with that to shut it off.
They'll send it to you, but you could just drive it up here and we could take a look at it. Thanks very much for the call, Frank. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we want to hear from you. 866-594-4150. You're listening to the Under the Hood Show.
Be sure to visit our website for news, contests, and previous shows at underthehoodshow.com. Welcome back, everybody. It's time to get back under the hood with the Motor Medics.
866-594-4150. That's the number to reach us here at the Under the Hood Show. Let's talk to David. You're on the Under the Hood Show. David, what can we do for you?
Hello, Russ and Shannon.
Hello.
I have a 20. How you boys doing?
Good. We're
beautiful.
I'm
day
fine.
here.
I'm fine too, David.
Who are you?
Chris is good.
Sorry.
That's all right. Go ahead. I'll allow you to.
2012 Suburban, 290,000 miles on it, and started this winter developing where I go in and turn the key and nothing would happen on the dash, but the car would run perfect. The truck would run perfectly. I'm driving it right now down 229, but yeah, it's. I mean, there's none of their gauges work. And then it'll later today, like today, I started it and it's just fine. But then it'll do it again sometime later.
Did you bang on it? Did you smack the dash?
Pardon me?
Did you smack on the dash?
I tried that, yes.
Didn't work?
I cracked the dash, actually, yeah.
Oh, too much. That's
hard.
harder than the bridge of the nose.
Too hard?
Yeah.
It's probably just the instrument cluster. I can't recall. Wow, Chris.
That was a loud drink.
I've never heard it do that before.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. Probably what his dash sounded like when it broke. Clink, clink. That's cool. Get like that.
Yeah.
His Under the Hood Show cup, they're just making some noise.
Mm-hmm.
I think I haven't seen a wiring issue or a switch issue or anything cause this issue in this vehicle before with these dashes. I have seen the instrument clusters fail a lot, and they can temperature, time, different. I run it for 15 minutes, then it works all day, or gets warmer and it works all day. It's just different things. But I bet that instrument cluster is just gone, and they've become available aftermarket, very affordable. Our partner at Dorman Products that makes that instrument cluster is, I don't want to say for that one, it's probably around the $300 range or so, which isn't super expensive. And you just
good size core charge when you do the
but you'll get that back as soon as you bring that back to the store.
I would remove it, unplug it, reseat the plug-in, and put it back in once and see what happens.
Yep. And if it works for a short period, get another one.
Maybe just wiggling it around and putting that pressure on the circuit board might just give it the magic touch that gives it anher 290,000 miles. Wouldn't that be great?
That would be nice, yeah.
290,000 miles. Wow. Is that the first thing that's really, like on that dash, that's ever given you a problem?
Yeah, first thing.
That's awesome.
And you hadn't put an engine in it yet?
Nope.
Why would you say that?
Then it'll keep going.
Why would you say that?
No, we're probing a little bit. He's got 290,000 miles. What have you done? Any major repairs?
None.
So if they tend to make it past like 110,000 miles, Chris, then they seem to miss that AFM problem and they just keep going.
Well, and he's putting plenty of miles on it too.
Okay, I got one more question. How long have you owned it? How many of these miles have you put on?
I put on 150, about 175,000.
And did you buy it from a private party, or where'd you get it from?
I bought it from Patrick and Laverne, and the mechanics there told me the guy who owned it before me babied it.
Somebody gave that a good early life. That's what I was getting at. To get that experience for you, somebody gave that a well-maintained, good early life. And so often people end up with a vehicle that has come. I mean, it happens. It came through other channels. It was whatever system of the car market it came through, and maybe it didn't get that handling in its first 80,000 miles like somebody that's going to own it for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
It got handled by somebody that's going to trade every 2 years and just doesn't care as much. There's people that trade every 2 years that care a lot, and there's people that trade every 2 years that don't care as much. And you could get either one.
You got the good one, David. Thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. Let's talk to Randy. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Randy in Minnesota. What can we do for you?
Well, I say I got a 2014 Kia Soul, and it doesn't want to rev over 2,000 RPMs.
Driving down the road, it doesn't want to rev over 2,000, or when you're parked in the driveway in park or neutral?
Either way.
Okay, because it's supposed to do that when you're parked in the driveway. But what typically happens is you've got a couple things going on. If it's electronic, it may be that the vehicle does not know that it's in a drive gear, or if it's a manual transmission, that the clutch isn't pushed. So you can read that on a scanner, and it'll say park neutral, even if it's a manual trans. So if it thinks it's sitting in neutral or in park, it's not going to rev up.
No matter what you're doing to it.
Right.
Okay.
But if it's mechanical, more than likely the issue, what we see often on these, just the most common thing is that we see catalytic converters starting to plug up because the engine is starting to burn some oil or coolant. Oil is most common on the Kia engine, and it's plugged up the catalytic converter, won't let it breathe enough to get past this 2,000 RPM, and it's going to get slower. The harder you try to push it, the slower it tries to go. So in our shop, I'd pull out the scanner, I'd read it and see if it thinks it's in a drive gear, so it should be allowed to run. And then I would take out the oxygen sensor, the front oxygen sensor, put a gauge on it and see what the back pressure is. And if it's building too much back pressure, I know that the converter is bad. Has it been burning oil?
No. It's well, Kia had those bum motors.
Yep.
And there was a new motor put in it a couple of years ago.
Okay. If they put a new motor in it a couple of years ago, they would have put it in because of the oil burning problem. It could definitely be plugging now because of what had accumulated back then.
So don't rule that out is what Russ is saying.
Yeah, definitely check the back pressure on that. somebody will scan it and then check the back pressure. But I would tell whatever shop that looks at it, this has had a replacement motor put in it in the past because of the oil burning. Check the back pressure, because that could be one of the first things to find out what's going on.
Randy, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. That's going to do it for hour 2 of the Under the Hood Show. Thanks for joining us. The Under the Hood Show is brought to you by Sturdivants. All right, welcome to the after show. I'm Chris Carter. That's Russ Evans.
There you are.
That's Shannon.
That's
I
me.
would think they're still here. I would think that most people that are watching right now were here.
If they've watched it
35
before, they
seconds
know,
ago.
Yeah, they know there's an after show. If they're not,
It's very, I would be shocked that there's someone watching right now.
Right
that
now?
It doesn't know that we were just on 30 seconds ago.
Well,
I'm just throwing that
I'm
out there.
pulling this up right now to look, and it'll tell me because I can.
Do we want to know?
I don't. Yeah, I don't.
Can I turn it down? Yeah, they're still here. Yeah, listen, this is the replay.
If they've watched it 35 seconds.
See,
Don't.
that's-
Now I'm going to be confused.
Confused. Okay, that's off. But I'm watching the app. It's just like a couple seconds delay there, and they're still there, Chris. I see they're still there.
All right. Yeah, I believe that. I
Because
just
we got stuff to talk. We
don't
got
think
almost a full load of calls.
I know.
We have a show of calls on.
And
We do.
and we have the stuff we haven't talked about yet. So
let's get to it.
This is great. Bring it on.
Let's talk to Ed. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Ed, what can we do for you? Ed, we can't hear you. Hold on. Try again. Something's wrong with your phone there. There you go.
There you go.
Whatever you just did, fixed it.
Yeah.
You just fixed the internet.
Yeah, as a dumb. Okay,
I'm with
I
you.
had a second question. I called in earlier on the diesel fuel.
Okay.
This one is that my neighbor put in some cheap disc brakes, and now they squeak. And the installer said that cheap brake disc had steel in it. Would that cause it to squeak?
Well, the disc itself is made out of steel, but the brake pads, a lot of the cheaper pads are very heavy and metallic.
Yep. So we have semi-metallic, metallic, organic, which is no metal, and then we have ceramic. And the ceramic is the standard pad for most OEM manufacturers now because they're very quiet. They're very smooth and they're very quiet. In our shop, when we're putting on brakes, that's really the problem we have. That's the noise problem. When we get a noise problem, that's like the customer's complaint. I look at the brakes and I say, hey, you've got 90% left. Yeah, but they squeak. Can't you do anything about it? Well, I could call up AutoZone down the street, which we use for our commercial stuff all the time. And I could order a set of Duralast brake pads that are ceramic brake pads, and they're not going to squeak. They're just engineered that they don't squeak. So I get the pads and the rotors. Do not go buy, if you go down to AutoZone and buy a set of Duralast pads and you throw them on these rotors that are currently on the car, they're going to be contaminated with little like splinters of metal from the other pads. So you've got to do the rotors and pads at the same time. Same way we go with rotors. Don't put new rotors on where you had old pads. You're going to have a problem. Do them in sets, pad, rotors, and if you need anything else when you're doing the job, like brake hardware and stuff, the AutoZone's going to have everything there for you.
Yeah.
So that's why you're having a squeak, is because you've got a metallic pad in there, and the second you have any moisture outside, snow, rain, fog is the worst.
We got really heavy air lately around here.
Squeaks the last few weeks from fog. My own car squeaking like crazy. It's really common because my car that squeaks, my other cars don't squeak. My performance car does squeak because it has big, heavy Brembo racing type brakes on it, which are they're metallic. You just don't get a Duralast pad for that. So it's just the way it's going to be.
Ed, thanks very much for the call. 866-594-4150. Let's talk to Michael. You're on the Under the Hood Show. Michael, what can we do for you?
Well, good morning, gentlemen. Thanks for taking my call this morning. I've got a 2001 Mustang with the V8 4.6. I've had it in storage for about a year and a half. I've got premium fuel in it. I put stabilizer in it. And I was talking to, I plan on taking it out here this spring. Anyway, I was talking to a gentleman at Sturdivants, and he recommended maybe a BG 44K, and it's a product to put in the gas tank. And he said, you don't want to do it till you start running the car and run it on the road. And I was wondering if that's a good program for me. And there's a couple other things I like to address, and I guess the overall process. I've had it sitting for a while. It's inside, it's in storage, it's in a warm place, or with a nice garage and stuff. I'd like to get your expertise on that.
Well, the product he's telling you about is a product to help clean up any sludge and varnish in that fuel system. And BG44K is a product made for that, and it works pretty well. Our preference in our own shop is Berryman B12 Chem Tool. We believe it does a little better job. We switched to Berryman B12 about 14 years ago in place of the BG, so we're very familiar with the BG products. But we're also very familiar now with the Berryman, and price and the way it works. It just works good for us. Anything we talk about that we're passing on to our listeners on the show is because we're using it in our shop daily, and we know how it works.
And yeah, you sure want that to be out on the road so it's burning that fuel as it cleans it.
You want to put it in, and you want to drive the car, and don't over put it in. You really don't need to. And some products actually don't work as good when you put too much in. It's like if you mixed up too much dish soap in your sink, sometimes it doesn't work as good as with the right amount of water in there to get the right ratio, and the water rinses which was what gas does, while the chemical cleans. Too much chemical, it can be hard on things. So that's the first thing with that Mustang. You put it in and drive it, and it'll help with the older fuel you have in there and preventing things from gumming up as you run it with old fuel, but it'll also help clean as you drive it.
It might help pull some of that older fuel through there. And if the fuel is of good quality, and this has been in a climate, is it heated and air conditioned, or just heated?
It's I have it so I can heat the garage, but I normally don't heat it. I would say that the ambient temperature in the garage is right around 40 degrees most of the time, year round, except for when summer it gets warmer. But I mean, it's in I don't want to say a controlled environment, but it's better than just sitting in like a storage shed or something like that.
I don't get as scared when you say a year and a half as if you would have said 5 years.
Right.
Yeah. We have customers often that bring us cars that have been sitting up to 2 years without running while they saved money to put an engine in, and they've been just fine.
Yeah.
It's usually a car that's 4 to 6 years when they come in, and I go, "Whoa, where's your license plate say 1999 on it?" Well, it's been sitting a while. I'm like, yeah, it's going to need more than an engine.
Right.
But I think your overall car is going to be fine.
Yeah.
You're going to want to just maybe make sure and check the tires, make sure none of them have gotten cracked up, sitting there from age, looking for weather checking and those sort of things.
And the date code on that.
Yeah. Your first drive, you're going to want to, after you've checked the fluids, check your coolants, make sure nothing's leaked down, check your oil, make sure it's all full and where it's supposed to be at the levels. Transmission fluid, if it's an automatic, just make sure everything is at the levels. You can see fluid, it's there. Then I'd start the car up and drive it.
Mm-hmm.
But, check the brakes gently the first time just to make sure nothing is not working there, or, a brake line got somehow rotted away or something. That sounds like a pretty clean car. I doubt that, but just give it a gentle check first. I think overall you're going to be just fine just driving the car, and that first tank of fuel may not perform as good as the next tank of fuel. But gosh, even that I've seen a year and a half not be a huge problem.
It'll be fine.
Michael, thanks very much for the call. Good luck. 866-594-4150. All right, let's talk to Kyle in Wisconsin. You're on the Under the Hood show. Kyle, what can we do for you?
Hi, guys. Love your show.
Thanks.
I feel like I know all you guys personally, even though I've never met anyone except Russ, kind of, sort of. I don't know if, Russ, if you'll recall, I think you were harness racing in Iowa, and I saw the Under the Hood show Camaro there and took a picture of it.
Yeah.
And a couple weeks later, this nice Under the Hood hoodie showed up in my mailbox, so thanks a lot.
Yep, I do remember that down in Iowa.
Yep.
It's a small world after all.
It is. Anyway, I had, for the last 13 summers, I had a Pontiac Solstice. Loved it. We had a lot of fun in it. Went on a lot of nice trips. But last November, I was actually just getting ready to put it away, and I'm driving by the Chevrolet dealership, and there's a 2024 Camaro sitting on the car carrier. Long story short, that Camaro's in my garage now. The Solstice went by, but the Camaro's in the garage. And my question is, I'm hearing from a lot of people that I should do an initial oil change on that Camaro this spring at 500 miles or less. But I've heard you guys say that you shouldn't do an oil change too quickly on a new vehicle, and I was just wondering what your thoughts are on that.
No, if you're going to do an oil change that early, does this have the 6.2 in it? Which engine do you have in it?
Yep, the 6.2, you got it.
Okay.
But let me jump in here and quickly say that, yeah, there are...
Don't tell him he should keep the Solstice.
No.
Just because you like it.
In some instances, some manufacturers, some engines, you're supposed to let it go 10,000.
Right.
There was a time, and may still be, when you had to do it earlier. But this might not apply to anyone except Kyle today.
Yeah, exactly. So in this engine, being that it's a 6.2 and it's a brand new engine and it's factory filled with a Mobil 1 synthetic oil, it's designed a little differently. I would change it at 500 miles, and then going forward from this, I'd be changing it every 3,000 miles, because he's not going to put a ton of miles on this thing. So every 3,000 or 6 months on that, because if it sits enough where he's only getting 2,800 miles on it in 6 months, let's change it, because it's probably going to be more of a summer car around this area. But yeah, you can change that because they filled it. That and the Corvettes, a lot of those get filled. It says right on the oil cap, Mobil 1, 530, whatever they put in it. That's right from the factory, and you'd be fine. Some of the other cars have a special oil in it, which is a non-synthetic to help them break in.
What did the factory service manual or owner's manual say for the oil change?
It's actually a little confusing. Because you get a and I guess I'm not talking the service manual, but the owner's manual.
Yep, I'm curious.
For multiple models, and it says on the ZL1, which it's a 6.2, but it's the supercharged 6.2.
Yep.
That one says 500 miles, but all the other ones say, I think, 7,500 miles.
Yeah,
and
that's
I'm trying to understand. Supercharged would be different than the base 6.2.
Yeah, that's a whole different set of type of engine with a different oil system in it. Yeah, and that is with break-in, you're going to have more metals that are going to be coming off into the oil with the supercharger and stuff. I would go 500 on that if it was my own with that engine and what we know about it. I'd go 500, and then you're fine after that. It should break.
And then
in
go to your 5,000 or 7,500 mile. Interval, unless you just don't drive it enough.
I would never drive that engine. I've got that same engine in my car, and I would never go that far. I went 4,000 miles on it. Probably when I drove down to Humboldt to the harness racing, but yeah, it's too much. The oil's going to get dirty. It's got active fuel management in it to shut those lifters off, and that engine gets dirty really fast.
So you would not follow that factory.
No, I'm on mine. It's realistically, it's probably about every 2,000 it gets changed, about every 4 months and 2,000 miles. And that oil is really dirty at that time. It's dirtier than I want it to be. So I would change it early.
Before you go.
And to be honest,
go ahead.
My we put about 3 to 3,500 miles a year on it. I would assume the Camaro will be similar. And Chris, don't feel bad. I did love my Solstice. It was a blast.
Not as much as this Camaro.
What did you do for the luggage situation on trips?
On the Solstice?
Well, quite honestly, that's one way I talked my wife into the Camaro, because we would go on. We went to Colorado in it one year, and she had all this stuff piled up around her legs in the passenger seat, and she goes, it'd be kind of nice if we had something a little bigger. Because the back seat looks useless here, but at least I could throw some of these bags in the back of this Camaro. I didn't have that.
Fold the seat down. Yeah, there's not much room back there, but if you put the seat down, you can put. We put our 2 suitcases on the back seat where it folds down, and then stuff in the trunk, and it works. Works pretty good.
Suitcase. Yep. A suitcase.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I really appreciate the advice. That's awesome. I think I'll do it at 500 then, Russ.
What color was the Solstice?
Aren't you gonna guess?
Oh, so we could do a double guess. The first Berkeley 1 Classic double guess. The Solstice was black and the Camaro is blue, because you picked the color after my Camaro, of course.
I'm thinking the Solstice.
But it's a brighter blue.
The Solstice was white and the Camaro is blue.
The Solstice was silver and the Camaro is He saw it on the transport. It got his attention. It had to stick out a little bit. It's probably a beautiful blue color.
Did we all go blue on the
Yeah.
Camaro? What color is the Camaro?
The Camaro is ruby red tint coat, kind of a maroon.
Okay.
We all fail.
And the Solstice was aggressive, the red.
Ah.
Boy, we failed on that
Our
one.
first double
Hard.
color gas for Berkeley One Classics.
And we missed
gas.
6.
Guess.
We were 0 for 6.
Yeah. We've missed before though. Not,
Yeah,
that's
for
a
sure.
big. That's
That
a big.
0
miss,
for
though.
6 is a
That's
lot.
a big miss.
Kyle, thanks very much for the call. Good luck, all right?
Yep, thanks, guys.
Thanks, man.
Oh, man. So,
All right, there we go.
quickly,
Yes.
California. They're going after they've got the bill introduced that's probably passed by now as we speak about it today, but they want to put that speed control on that we talked about where they will not let any new car pass 10 miles an hour over the speed limit.
We've been speculating about that for 20 years that maybe it could happen
here,
someday.
and it can, and here it is. So, and they want to do, they haven't
Well, hold
decided
on.
yet
Yeah. let's-
on passive or active. Passive means it's going to go beep and beep at you like driving a U-Haul truck rental downhill too fast. And it gives you an overspeed warning, and you can't shut it off. They want to make it permanent. Well, you can shut it off by slowing down. Or active, where it actually slows the car down and will not let you physically drive over. And that is their preferred method. That's what they want to go with, is the active to keep you from speeding. 10 miles an hour seems like an awful lot if they're trying to keep you around. But if they keep everybody at that, then they could set the speed limit accordingly. But they said there's some things that go in there. They've used GPS to drive around and find out how many roads report the speed limit the way it should be. Because what if you're in a 55 mile an hour zone and it's limiting your car to a 45, so you can only go 55 or a 35. So they've got to make sure those zones are right. I mean, for Shannon, he'd just be mortified because he wouldn't be able to go any speed he wants at any time.
I do not like this idea at all.
Now, where have they done this? They have already done this in Europe. And it's not like they did it yesterday. They did it decades ago. So it can be done. They've got models out there for it. But I guarantee you see it pop up in one state. The other states that follow the CARB rules, the California Clean Air Act rules, I guarantee you'll start seeing it. Minnesota, Michigan, New York, you're going to see these things start to pop up. So you better all hope and pray they don't do it if you're the kind of person that doesn't want limits on your vehicle.
And it has been proposed it hasn't gone any further than one guy proposing it.
Yep. But
But it caught media right away, of course.
Yeah.
It's if you can think it's going to happen. Most of these that are realistic like this, which is it's easy. It's a matter of software programming for any of these cars they're talking about. 24 and newer, all they have to do is turn it on. It's in every car system basically because they're all getting GPS now, and they're all getting. They all have electronic speed control. So all they have to do is just tell it, if this, then this. That's how we program computers. If 10 over this, then slow it down. Do not allow it to go over.
His bill also requires large trucks sold in California to come with side guards that prevent bicycles and even other cars from being pulled under the truck in a crash. So, and that's something that also the EU already does for some trucks.
When you have a law and something that is working already in another place, crash avoidance, rear crash avoidance lights that were in Europe before we had them in the United States, it's easy. They just say, look, it's done it here. Yeah. It's worked. This is how it's reduced fatalities. Boom. Yeah, it makes it easier for them when they can prove that it works. When you're just guessing, it's so easy for somebody to throw out we don't know if it works, so let's just not do it. So I would suspect that it's coming. We've heard them talk about it for years, but now that there's actually something proposed, it might be coming.
How big will if the diesel deletion industry, which it's been illegal for a while, but they're still doing it, right? There's still tuners that do it. How is the speed tuner business, the illicit speed tuner business going to be?
It'll come, and I've there's a video I'm going to post next week with details of what we found out, because since our show's going out to like 500,000 people, I have had a huge influx of emails from people saying, I drove my truck, I took pictures of the gas gauges, I measured my fuel economy exactly, did everything I could, did tow tests with camper on it, unloaded, loaded, everything. And then I went and got the recall done and did it again. and this is what happened. And since we'll have a different group of people that watch
are you
that
talking
video.
are you talking about the Cummins diesel
Yeah,
thing?
we'll have a different group of people
I didn't know
watch
they had the fix
that
out there
video
yet.
versus this. I'll tell you now if you miss it. They found nothing happened, basically. Here's what their $2 billion fine got them. Every one of them was in consensus of two things. The one thing that made a difference in the truck for emissions, they found out that the truck now, the def gauge, reads empty and tells you must refill it faster than it did before. A lot faster than it did before. And what was happening before is that the truck could actually run out of diesel exhaust fluid, but not say it on the gauge yet. So you were driving it without DEF fluid in the engine. So by driving it without DEF in it, it was polluting. So it was actually causing an emissions problem with the vehicle as you drove it because it didn't have any DEF fluid in it. And by changing the gauge now it says it's empty when it's supposed to. Was that worth a $2 billion fine? Because not everybody was driving like that. I don't think so. And they've known about this since 2019. Why didn't they do something sooner if it was such a big deal and required that big of a fine? Volkswagen, they jumped all over their stuff fast. They were pulling cars off the road, buying them back, crushing stuff. I mean, everywhere it was crazy. We saw fields full of Volkswagens, not with the Cummins thing. So what else did they do? They got trucks in. They got them in. They know if they've been modified or not. They know if they've been deleted. We had people email that said, yeah, my truck was deleted. I did the test before. I took it in. They saw it was deleted and said, well, your truck's deleted. We're going to update the software. Your check engine light's going to come on because you don't have your stuff on it. You've pulled off your particulate filter and everything. Oh, that's okay. I'll fix it when I get home. Don't worry about it. Thinking they were going to drive home and what? Reflash it again to their old thing, and then they can get their truck registered, right? Several people told me they went in and they had the flash done. When they tried to reflash it, their computer was locked.
Yep, they've locked it.
They locked it so they could not modify the computer anymore. Only stock tunes can be put in it. So they ended up buying a used computer, doing some programming on their own and making it work. But there's not that many out there. And we noticed that the price of used computers for those has skyrocketed and they're disappearing. We went searching for them. We do know for a fact that I think it's the 21, 2, and 3, Shannon, maybe I was right, that those are locked. You can't buy a tuner for that. If you want to tune it, you buy one out of Canada, which they won't ship to the United States. You actually have to go there to get it somehow. But your tune is a whole computer. So you buy a computer and you just put it in your truck and you're good to go. That allows you to delete it because they have different laws up there than we have in the United States. And that's how they're doing that. People will find a way. I mean, you're not supposed to delete it, but we know, we see them. It happens. We know people have done it out there and will continue to do it and try to get around it. But now they know, and the government knows whose has been deleted, whose hasn't, and they know if you've done the recall or not. And the way we've seen them go after most of the big tuner companies and find them and told them to stop selling these things and made them pay restitution to get some of these put back. We think, in our opinion, that at some point they're going to go after the little guy, and now they know who the little guy is. They know exactly which trucks did not come in to be reprogrammed. And if all they did for a $2 billion fine was reprogram a def gauge, it seems plausible that they did it to see how many of them were not complying. That's very possible. So we'll see what time brings, but we have, like we said a few weeks ago, we'll see in the next month or so what happens with it. And we thought there was going to be less fuel economy, less power, all that. None of it happened. From what we see so far, all the people that are reporting to us, none of it's happened. And of course, I got out there and did research too, and everyone else I found had the same results. The only thing it seemed to change was the def gauge.
Okay, sleep tight. Good night.
Yeah. But the
pleasant dreams.
Fun news, I found a good car wash. And
What?
it's an equal opportunity license plate bender. It will bend both sides of your plate,
Oh,
Shannon.
that's cool.
Not just one,
Yeah.
but it does a dually truck.
Oh, really?
So the Blue Tide car washes they've been building all across the country, the ones that have mats. So if you've been through a car wash that has a mat that you drive onto instead of a track you go down to, those mats are like 12 feet wide. You can pull a dually truck onto them. You got to be centered. Make sure your tires are in between those little lines they have. But if you're centered on it, you pull on it, and you can run a dual-wheel truck through the wash. My wife found that out for me a week ago. We were at the gas station.
You mean they didn't let you just ride on top of the rails in the other ones?
No, I don't think you'd be able to
Too
get
wide.
in there. I had a few I could pull into that had the automatic washes without
Like
the
where it
brushes,
moves,
just
yeah.
the spray around, and those are garbage. They spray at you and they don't really get the dirt off. You need like the rags that move. This thing has got, the one we have in town here that I have been using like several times now has like several sets of the top brushes and side. I mean, it cleans really good. I thought that was great, but it's the mat. And my wife went up and she says, I know that'll do a dually because it doesn't have those rails. I'm like, huh?
Good job, Michelle.
So, she went in and asked, and they said, yeah, I think so. It should. And I'm like,
how does it get pulled
they don't
along
know.
on a mat?
The mat moves. It's like you drive on
It's
the
like a
mat,
magic
and the
carpet.
whole mat moves. So your truck is sitting
You want to do
there.
it just to go.
Now I want to go see. I like technology in my car washes.
And when you're going through in your Solstice, it's so low, yet you can feel it when it bumps the rack, and you're like, oh, is it eating my tire? It doesn't do that at all because you're just floating along.
Do
like
they have a decent underbody wash with that?
Yeah.
mat?
Oh, it's huge.
So the mat must be a perforate or like a metal.
It's got holes all over.
Yep.
It's like a big one of those things like you hang on the window with the wall. You know what I'm talking about. It's like a
screen.
bunch of beads and it bends and
Oh, I
with
gotcha.
wires.
Yeah, yeah.
They're made out of like wood. Yeah, that's the mat, but it's got a great underbody.
like
As I
a
pulled
walking
on it,
suspension bridge.
I didn't think it was going to stop. It's like
a
going and going and going. I'm like, is this wash ever stop? And I got so far that when I looked in the mirror on the side, I could see behind me. I could see the water squirting up in the air, so it was still going as I passed it. So it's a long wash, and then it had like a double side. It was spraying everything. It was.
I'm gonna have to try that out. I'm a customer of a monthly service of the other one.
I'm
But
done.
I might have to try that.
I'm done with the other one. The other one's kind of, it's getting
right.
run down. They've had them for a long
Well,
time.
They're building new ones too,
Yeah.
Bill. They'll improve their technology.
They
I'm
may
sure.
go with a mat system, and
Yeah.
then they could be good too. But I'm telling you, these new ones.
You think it's a better deal?
The first one I experienced was actually down in Kansas or Oklahoma, so it was a long way away in another state. And my wife said, "Let's check that one out. It looks pretty." So I'm like, "Okay." We pulled up, and I saw that mat, and I went, "This is awkward. I don't know how I'm going to do that." And I rolled onto the mat, and they said, "There you go. And just leave it neutral and roll." And I was like, "This is crazy. I'm floating. I'm not getting kicked every few seconds with the roller."
Yeah.
And the tires squeak as they're rolling. And then at the end, it even has these two brushes slide out from the side and spin. They're like 15 feet long, and they scrub your tires as you go. They spray Armor All in there if you ordered it. It's just, it's fun, but I'm going to have to get a couple of those Under the Hood Show license plate holders to keep my plates straight because it's successfully folds both corners because one comes from the right, and then a minute later, one comes from the left.
Get your license plate frame on and
Yeah.
take care of that problem.
So cool. So we ended on a fun thing.
Yeah, we ended on a high note. All right, thanks everybody for watching the Under the Hood Show. Subscribe and like the video, and if you'd comment, tell a friend too. But the subscriptions really do make a difference. So please, if you're still with us, subscribe.
Yeah, I watched a video the other day, and they told them to do that at the beginning.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and they flashed it up. Hey, if you're gonna like this, make sure you subscribe.
Yeah, we should do that too, probably. But
Because not everybody's gonna make it to the end of this. I think there's some
No.
people, we lost a few people at Bill
in Arizona.